Hey, what's going on guys, it's FPL Yusuf and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over my Game Week 3 transfer plans, where I'm going to be discussing my upcoming team for Game Week 3, some longer term transfer targets, but also the transfer targets that I'm looking at making for this coming week. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, welcome back everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here today on my YouTube channel for another video. Before we get into this one, if you wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so just a quick review of the Game Week 2 team and how they got on. So we did get a green arrow. We're up to 215,000 in the world right now. Finished the game week on 83 points all out. A few noticeable highlights. Obviously, Erling Haaland was the big one. You know, there's a lot of talk about whether we should have triple captained him, should we not have. I mean, if you were one of the people who did, you know, fair play to you. I think he could have had maybe 4 or 5 on another day, so it could have been a monster haul. But I think overall, I think most people who had him would have just kept the captaincy on him. And obviously got, you know, a great return with 34 points. You know, other players in the team, you know, Anthony Robertson come up with 7 points, got an assist in the game. A little bit unlucky to lose the clean sheet, but, you know, this is why we have these type of players in there, you know, more the fullbacks, just to get the extra, chance of an assist if the clean sheet does go, as well as the bonus point. And also Smith Rowe as well, coming in with 10 points, another double-digit haul in the team. So, yeah, overall, pretty happy with it. You know, a couple of 6s across there, you know, Saka, Saliba, Trent, Jota, all of them just doing quite well. So overall, it's been a very good game week. So yeah, just a sort of quick little rundown of how game week 2 got on. Let's move on to our game week 3 transfers now. Right, so as you guys can see on screen, these 3 players are players that I'm looking at, particularly for Game Week 3, but also for the couple weeks after as well. I think all 3 offer different routes to points, different price ranges they're coming at. So we'll start with Ollie Watkins first, and he is obviously the big talking point coming into Game Week 3 now. You know, Aston Villa had a little bit of mixed bag for the first 2 fixtures. You know, West Ham away, then they obviously had Arsenal at home. Watkins, is there a little bit of cause for concern? Potentially. Now, he had 2 fantastic chances in the Arsenal game, and, you know, the first one definitely should have gone in. Second one, maybe you could give a hand to David Raya, but even still, you know, with a player like Ollie Watkins and the quality he has, you'd imagine he'd be putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think if he scores both of them and he walks out of that game with a brace, you know, Aston Villa probably win the game, and there's probably a different topic of conversation around him. Now, my only concern with him is that he's been subbed off in the 65th minute for the last 2 games now. Obviously, he didn't have any preseason minutes with Aston Villa, so I'm sort of putting it down to that. But I think if it's something that they're going to try and give Duran more game time, and Watkins is the guy who makes way, I do worry about him as a £9 million asset. You know, it's a lot of money to be spent on someone who's not even going to get the 70-minute mark. Now, the reason why he's on this list, obviously, is because his fixture's coming up. You know, he's going away to Leicester in Game Week 3, and then after that, you know, Aston Villa have got sort of 3, 4, 5 games where in a row where they are just looking really good. You know, Morgan Rogers is another player who, you know, I'm sure we'll come on to this week at some point in another video. But yeah, for me, Ollie Watkins, you know, I still think he's top quality. You know, he had a bad game against Arsenal, but, you know, against Leicester, you know, Villa, you'd expect them to get more chances than they did against Arsenal. So you'd imagine that he would have more opportunities to score. And to be honest with you, I think this is where his season gets up and running for him. So for me, I'm going to come into my transfers for my team at the end of the video, but he's going to be someone that I'm going to talk about quite big on that point. Okay, next up, Cole Palmer. Now, what a game he had yesterday against Wolves. 1 goal, 3 assists. Is it making everyone start to think, should we have gone Cole Palmer? Now, the first game week was obviously against Man City, so I don't think it would be right for us to expect, you know, much from Chelsea against that Man City team. You know, not a lot of teams get joy against them, so I would sort of write that one off. It's interesting to me that Wolves away was a game that I wasn't sure how Chelsea would go. I think Chelsea are quite unpredictable in terms of who's going to start for them, but I think Cole Palmer's just showing us that, you know, he still has that quality there. Obviously, a little bit harder to get to, obviously coming in at 10.5 million, so you'd probably have to make way for Saka, or if you've got Salah, one of them two. Is it worth it? I mean, if you're going to get onto Cole Palmer, I'd say now is the chance, and that's why he's on this list, because their fixtures coming up are the time you want to get involved in Chelsea assets. Now, I do think it's worth me saying that Chelsea won't score 6 goals every game, and, you know, to be honest with you, it's no disrespect to the Chelsea side, but they could, the way they put 6 past Wolves, they could easily go and get beat 1 or 2-0 next week by anyone. So I think for me, I do like him as an option. If you are somebody who's wildcarding early, maybe you could consider it and just sort of know that you're going to have him here for a couple of weeks, and then maybe look to move him on to a Saka around Game Week 6, obviously when their fixtures change. You know, Man City from Game Week 6, there's Phil Foden there. So there's other alternatives you could move him to. But yeah, for me, I don't know if it's just a little bit too early. I just need to see Chelsea, how they set up a little bit more. But, you know, obviously, the longer you wait for the transfer, you're starting to miss out on Chelsea's good run, which is now. So, yeah, a little bit of a gamble there. But I think if you can get to him, I think he's a fine option. You know, obviously, still going to be on penalties for Chelsea. It just shows that he's got the creative side as well. So, yeah, for me, Cole Palmer has to be on this list for the next coming game weeks at least anyway. And finally, is a man who's gone, I think, a little bit under the radar, actually, and that's Luis Diaz. Now, he's coming in at 7.5 million, but he actually has the highest expected goal involvements out of all that Liverpool attack. You know, Jota's on 0.99, Salah's on 0.84, but he's averaging over 1 goal involvement every game. Now, I think obviously he had a great game just going against Brentford with a goal and assist, but he was very unfortunate actually not to get a goal, maybe even more in the Ipswich game on the opening day of the season. Now, if he gets double-digit hauls in both of them, I think a lot of people are going to start clambering to get him in. I think he's someone that, at his price point as well, you know, there might be people out there who aren't happy with Nkunku's minutes. You know, Eze hasn't really sort of hit the ground running. It's not too far away from moving to them sort of players, and he's someone that I'm definitely considering too. I think, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in the transfers later, but I think Luis Diaz and the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, I feel like their attack is a good route to points. So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on. But also, like I said, he's got the highest expected goal involvements from the whole Liverpool attack. Okay, so this is what my team currently looks like going into the game week 3 deadline now. At the time of recording, it's Monday. I haven't made any transfers yet. I've got 1 free transfer in the bank, 0.5 million as well. Now, the original plan was to move Isak to Watkins, which I'm going to come on to in the next section. I'm still undecided about that at the moment. So as the overall team stands, I'm happy with it. I think Nick Pope is someone that sort of worries me a little bit. I think he done his job in the first week by getting the 9 points. He's a good goalkeeper. And I think, you know, yesterday, for example, if Newcastle get the clean sheet, he would have been in bonus points. You know, he gets the 3 saves, which always gets him that extra point. If he keeps the clean sheet, usually that pushes him into bonus points. But I haven't really been impressed with Newcastle as a team, to be honest with you. So, yeah, he's someone that I'm considering. But all in all, I'm happy with it. You know, 3-4-3 going into it. You know, Morgan Rogers, I'm getting him in the starting lineup now. You know, had a great game against Arsenal. He's someone to watch out for. I think Isak's an interesting one because he actually has a good record against Tottenham. I know Newcastle haven't started the season well, and same with him. I think he's been a little bit underwhelming. I think a lot of us would have expected at least a goal by now. But he can definitely get against Tottenham. You know, Tottenham defensively aren't the greatest. He has a good goal scoring record against them, like I said. And Newcastle always seem to just get the better of Spurs. So yeah, he's someone that I'm still considering about making the transfer. But overall, this is how we're going to go into it, 3-4-3. I'm going to put Munoz on the bench. I haven't really been too impressed with Crystal Palace. He's someone that's in the back of my mind. I have thoughts about getting rid of him. So yeah, he's going to just sit on the bench for now. He's going away to Chelsea. But yeah, overall, this is how we're going to go into it. But I'm going to come onto my transfers now and just talk about some changes that I'm looking at making for this coming game week. Okay, so these are the potential transfers that I'm looking at making for this coming game week. Now, I just touched on one of them, and it was going to be Isak to Watkins. Now, I do want Ollie Watkins in my team. That much is known for me for sure. I'm a little bit hesitant about taking Isak out against Spurs because, like I said, he has a good record against them. But if I'm being honest with you, the whole point of me moving Konsa down to Greaves last week was to free up the 0.5 to make the transfer today. Now, at the time of recording, Ollie Watkins is actually about 95% close to a drop in price. So I'm going to try and wait and just see. I'm going to keep an eye on the price changes every day this week just to see if it actually does it. Because if Watkins does take a price hit, then I'd rather pick him up for 8.9, save myself 0.1 million and missing that price drop. So I'm going to try and leave my transfer for this one as deep into the week as I possibly can. I mean, he might not go down anyway. You know, I think there might be people just panic selling. But I don't know if you own Watkins, I don't know why you would sell him now. You know, the first 2 games were the tricky ones. I think now is the run that you'd want to keep him for. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on that. But that is definitely top of my list about transfers that I'm looking to make. Now, again, I touched on it just in that previous section about Nick Pope and Newcastle in general. Now, David Raya was the only other keeper that I was considering at the start of the season, and he's had a fantastic start with Arsenal. For me personally, obviously, my team has 3 Arsenal players in it. Now, I'm going to put the other transfer up on screen as well, which is moving Kai Havertz down to João Pedro for a couple of weeks. Now, the reason and the thinking behind this, and this is why it would work, is because, one, I want to change Nick Pope in goal. Arsenal have got some tricky fixtures coming up, you know, Spurs away, Man City, but after that, they've got a good sort of 3 or 4 game weeks where you'd expect them to keep clean sheets. And it's not to say that Arsenal couldn't get a clean sheet against, you know, Spurs and City. They've got one against Villa, a little bit fortunate, but, you know, David Raya being a big part of that as well. So the only way it would be able to work is obviously if I get rid of Havertz. Now, Havertz, for me, in my head at the start of the season, was always going to hold him to the Brighton game, which is this week's game week 3. And then after that, I was going to move him out. Now, Spurs and City, I don't think will be there'll be tricky games. There'll definitely be. It'll be very close. I don't think it'll be like a big score. I think it will be sort of like a 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, that type of business. So I don't think there'll be a lot in it. And I do wonder if long term doubling up on the Arsenal defence is the right move, because I think Arsenal are just so good at keeping clean sheets. But also moving Havertz down to João Pedro, for example, frees up a lot of money, which then enables, you know, a move from, say, a Smith Rowe to a Diaz. Now Smith Rowe and the Fulham assets were kind of only being held till game week 4, because after that their fixtures do swing. So obviously in the back of my mind I'm sort of thinking about moving them on, and who do you move them to. With the extra money from moving Havertz down to João Pedro, I think it's a move that could work. But also Brighton have got Ipswich at home in game week 4, and I think Nottingham Forest at home in game week 5. So they've got 2 back-to-back games. And actually I was very impressed with João Pedro. The fact that he stayed on for 90 minutes, despite the amount of attackers that Brighton have got. He's on penalties. For me, I think it's a move that I'm going to make next week. Obviously, you know, after game week 3 we have the international break, so it's probably just best just to hold that transfer and just see, you know, who comes back from international break, make sure everyone's fit and good to go. But if all is good with him, I think that will probably be the move going into game week 4, which is just dropping Havertz down and bringing João Pedro in and just saving that Arsenal spot to eventually move Nick Pope out. Now, just quickly while we're talking on transfers, I know a lot of people have discussed about possibility of game week 4 wildcard or game week 6 wildcard. Now, I might actually do a draft video for a wildcard and what my sort of vision would be on the ideal wildcard if you're going to do it early. I'm never usually a big fan of wildcarding early. However, with the transfer rules this year and the fact that you can store 5, I'm a little bit more open to it. And from game week 6 in particular, I think it is, you know, Arsenal, City in particular go on really good runs where they just got greens for the first sort of 3-4 weeks. And I think that's the time that you probably want to be doubled up definitely on City, probably tripled up on Arsenal, because you can guarantee their minutes a little bit more. I think the third City asset would be a little bit harder. I think most people will have Haaland, most people will have Gvardiol. If Foden's obviously back by game week 6, which, you know, just gives us a few more weeks to get a sample size about him, then he could be the one as that third City asset. But yeah, for me, I might do a draft video later on in the week, just kind of showcasing what I would perceive to be my favourite draft for a wild card. But it's something that I'm definitely considering at least anyway. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I'm going to be back this week with sort of 2-3 more videos. I'll do another FPL challenge video. Like I said just there, I might do a wildcard draft. I'm going to do a final team selection later on in the week. So yeah, we've got a lot of content coming this week. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you turn on notifications too, just so you're alerted when it comes up. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.